Gentlemen, let me start with something shocking. Many men over 60 ignore the very signals their body is screaming at them, until it's too late. I remember one patient, let's call him John, who thought waking up 5 times a night to urinate was just normal aging. By the time he saw me, the consequences were far more serious. Today, on Men's Vitality After 60, we'll uncover why the prostate is at the center of your urinary health, your sexual vitality, and even your lifespan, and why neglecting it can cost you dearly. The prostate is a small gland about the size of a walnut, sitting just below the bladder and wrapping around the urethra, the tube that carries urine out of the body. At first glance, it seems minor, but in reality, this gland sits at the crossroads of urinary health, sexual function, and overall vitality in men. Think of it as both a valve and a chemical factory. It controls the flow of urine by surrounding the urethra, and it produces a special fluid that nourishes and protects sperm during ejaculation. Because of this dual role, any change in its size or structure directly affects how comfortably a man urinates and how well he performs sexually. When the prostate is healthy, the urethra is unobstructed, urine flows smoothly, and sexual function is supported by the gland's secretions. Men often don't even think about its existence. It simply does its job silently. But as the gland becomes inflamed, enlarged, or invaded by abnormal cells, the balance breaks down. Urination may become weak, hesitant, or frequent, especially at night. Sexual function can decline not only because of physical obstruction, but also due to hormonal shifts and nerve irritation linked to prostate disease. This is why the prostate influences more than comfort. It influences longevity. Chronic obstruction can damage the bladder and kidneys. Persistent inflammation has been linked to systemic issues such as fatigue and immune dysfunction. And of course, unchecked prostate cancer can shorten lifespan dramatically. The difference between a healthy prostate and a diseased one is therefore the difference between a man aging gracefully, sleeping well, urinating normally, enjoying intimacy, and a man burdened by pain, embarrassment, and life-threatening complications. Everyday habits that quietly damage the prostate. When most men think about prostate problems, they imagine it's just bad luck or part of aging. In reality, the gland often suffers because of simple daily habits we hardly pay attention to. These small choices, repeated over years, can silently push the prostate into trouble. Let's walk through the most common ones I see in my clinic. 1. Holding your urine too often. Many men ignore the urge to urinate when they're busy at work, driving long distances, or even during social situations. But the bladder and prostate don't forgive us so easily. By holding urine, the bladder stretches like an overfilled balloon. That pressure gets transferred downward, squeezing the prostate against the urethra. Over time, this habit can cause the bladder muscle to weaken and the prostate to swell or become more sensitive. I once treated a 63-year-old truck driver who proudly said he could hold it for hours. By the time he came to see me, he was waking up 5 times a night and had developed bladder stones, a direct result of years of delaying bathroom breaks. 2. Excess alcohol and caffeine. Alcohol, coffee, and energy drinks act as bladder irritants. They increase urine production and trigger more frequent trips to the bathroom. But the bigger problem is inflammation. Alcohol dehydrates the body and alters hormone balance, while caffeine overstimulates the nervous system. In men over 60, the prostate tissue is already prone to swelling, and these substances act like gasoline on a small fire. One study from the American Urological Association showed men who drank more than 3 cups of coffee a day had nearly double the risk of lower urinary tract symptoms. Moderation is key. 1 glass of wine or a single morning coffee is fine, but living on 6 espressos a day is a recipe for trouble. 3. A diet heavy in red meat and light in vegetables. What we eat shows up in our prostate health. Diets high in red and processed meats increase inflammation, oxidative stress, and hormone imbalance. Meanwhile, lacking vegetables means missing out on protective compounds like lycopene in tomatoes or sulforaphane in broccoli. I remember a retired police officer who came to me with advanced prostate enlargement. His diet: bacon and steak almost every meal, vegetables maybe once a week. When he switched to more plant-based meals, grilled salmon, spinach, tomatoes, his symptoms eased within months, even before we started medication. Science supports this. Men who consume more fruits and cruciferous vegetables have significantly lower rates of prostate cancer. 4. Sitting too much, moving too little. Our modern lifestyle has chained us to chairs. Prolonged sitting reduces blood flow in the pelvis, causing congestion and irritation of the prostate. Add a sedentary routine and metabolism slows, weight creeps up, and inflammation increases. Exercise doesn't have to mean running marathons. Even light walking after meals, gentle stretching, or a bike ride helps oxygenate the pelvic region and support healthy tissue. A Brazilian study found that men who walked just 50 minutes after lunch had 35% fewer urinary symptoms than those who stayed seated. 5. Chronic sleep deprivation. We often underestimate sleep, treating it as optional. But for the prostate, poor sleep is poison. During deep sleep, the body produces melatonin and growth hormone, both of which reduce inflammation and support tissue repair. When sleep is cut short, cortisol rises, testosterone drops, and the prostate becomes more vulnerable to disease. I had a 58-year-old executive patient who bragged about thriving on 4 hours of sleep a night. Within a decade, he developed not only prostate issues, but also high blood pressure and diabetes. After adopting better sleep hygiene, dimming lights, turning off screens, keeping a consistent bedtime, his nighttime urination decreased dramatically. Day by day, these habits may look harmless, but over decades they create the perfect storm: a swollen, irritable prostate, a bladder that struggles to empty, and a body caught in constant inflammation. The good news: changing even one of these habits can begin to reverse the trend. That's why I always remind my patients, the prostate is not just a victim of aging, it's a mirror of the lifestyle you choose. The link between ejaculation and prostate health. Few topics create as much discomfort in the doctor's office as the question of masturbation and prostate health. Many men in their 60s or 70s sit on the exam table, hesitate, and finally whisper, "Doctor, is it harmful if I still masturbate?" The truth is, science has given us a very clear answer, and it's far less taboo than most men imagine. The Harvard study. In 2016, researchers at Harvard followed more than 31,000 men over nearly 2 decades. They wanted to know if ejaculation frequency had any effect on prostate cancer risk. The results shocked many in the medical community. Men who ejaculated 21 or more times a month had a 33% lower risk of developing prostate cancer compared to those who ejaculated only 4 to 7 times. This wasn't a fluke. The large sample size and long follow-up period made the evidence strong. Australian and Italian evidence. Similar research in Australia confirmed that regular ejaculation helps flush the prostate. The gland produces fluid every day, and if that fluid sits around, toxins and aging cells accumulate. By releasing it regularly, the prostate stays cleaner, less inflamed, and more resilient. Italian scientists added another layer, showing that frequent sexual activity was also associated with better testosterone regulation and improved pelvic blood flow, 2 factors that directly support prostate health. The biological logic. Think of the prostate as a small reservoir. If water stagnates in a reservoir, bacteria and waste build up. Empty it regularly and it stays fresh. Ejaculation works the same way. It reduces congestion, lowers the risk of inflammation, and helps renew prostate cells. Beyond the gland itself, sexual release also decreases stress, lowers blood pressure, and improves sleep, indirect benefits that protect the whole body. When moderation becomes the key. But like most things in medicine, balance matters. I once had a patient, a 55-year-old man who confessed he had become compulsive with pornography and masturbation. Instead of feeling relaxed, he complained of pelvic pain, numbness, and fatigue. His symptoms weren't from the act itself, but from overuse, essentially exhausting his nervous system. Overdoing it can irritate pelvic nerves, create muscle tension, and even reduce sexual satisfaction over time. Contrast this with another patient, a 62-year-old widower who asked if continuing occasional masturbation was wrong at his age. He had read misinformation online that older men should avoid it. In reality, his moderate habit once or twice a week was not only harmless but protective. His prostate was healthy, his hormone levels stable, and he reported better mood and sleep. The takeaway: science tells us that regular but moderate ejaculation, whether through sex or masturbation, supports prostate health. It refreshes the gland, lowers cancer risk, reduces stress, and helps men maintain hormonal balance. On the other hand, abstaining completely or engaging compulsively can both backfire. The key question I encourage my patients to ask is simple: do I feel better or worse afterward? If the answer is better, more relaxed, more energetic, then the body is giving you a green light. If the answer is worse, fatigued, sore, anxious, then it's time to step back. In the end, ejaculation is neither sinful nor shameful. It's a natural biological process. For men over 60, especially, understanding this balance can mean the difference between suffering in silence and protecting one of the most important glands in the male body. 5 golden habits to protect the prostate. After decades of treating men with prostate issues, I've seen a clear pattern. The men who maintain certain simple lifestyle habits often avoid the worst complications. These aren't exotic remedies or expensive supplements. They're daily practices that anyone can adopt. Think of them as the golden 5 for keeping your prostate strong and your quality of life high. 1. Smart hydration. Most men either drink too little water or chug large amounts at the wrong time. As we age, our natural thirst signal weakens. So many older men walk around slightly dehydrated without realizing it. Concentrated urine irritates both the bladder and the prostate, making urinary symptoms worse. The smarter approach is steady hydration throughout the day, small sips in the morning and afternoon, tapering off in the evening. That way the body stays hydrated, but the bladder doesn't overfill at night. In one study of over 2,000 men, adjusting fluid timing reduced nighttime bathroom trips by more than 40%. 2. A short walk after meals. It sounds almost too simple, but walking for 10-15 minutes after eating has profound effects. It boosts blood flow to the pelvis, delivers oxygen to prostate tissue, and lowers inflammation. It also helps stabilize blood sugar, which matters because diabetes is linked to prostate enlargement. I had a patient who started walking around his block after dinner instead of heading straight to the couch. Within months, his nighttime urination decreased and his energy improved. Movement. Even light is medicine for the prostate. 3. Maintaining a healthy sexual rhythm. We've already seen how regular ejaculation clears the prostate. But there's another dimension. Regular sexual activity helps regulate testosterone, improves mood, and reduces stress hormones. Men often ask me, "Doctor, how often is right?" The answer isn't a number, it's consistency. For some couples, it's weekly. For others, a few times a month. What matters is avoiding long periods of complete abstinence on one hand or compulsive overuse on the other. Balanced intimacy nourishes both body and spirit. 4. A prostate-friendly diet. What you put on your plate every day shapes your prostate's future. Lycopene, found in tomatoes, watermelon, and pink grapefruit, has been shown to lower prostate cancer risk by up to 28%. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower provide sulforaphane, a compound that supports detoxification and protects DNA. Zinc, abundant in pumpkin seeds, shellfish, and nuts, is essential for hormone balance and prostate structure. I've seen men who embrace these foods, swapping steak-heavy meals for colorful plates, report not only fewer urinary symptoms but also higher energy and improved immunity. 5. Deep, restorative sleep. Sleep is often the most neglected medicine. During deep sleep, melatonin and growth hormone rise. These hormones reduce inflammation, repair tissues, and protect the prostate from cellular damage. On the flip side, poor sleep drives cortisol higher, lowers testosterone, and fuels chronic inflammation. Studies show men with chronic sleep problems are at double the risk of aggressive prostate cancer. Practical steps make a difference. Turning off screens an hour before bed, keeping the bedroom dark and cool, and sticking to a regular sleep schedule. Think of sleep as your body's nightly reset button. It's when your prostate gets its best chance to heal. These 5 habits are deceptively simple, yet together they form a powerful shield. Hydrate smartly, move after meals, stay sexually active and balance, eat with the prostate in mind, and prioritize deep sleep. Do these consistently, and you're not just protecting a gland, you're protecting your freedom, dignity, and longevity. Common misconceptions about the prostate. When it comes to the prostate, myths spread faster than facts. I often meet men who carry deep fears or false assumptions because of what they've heard from friends, the internet, or even outdated medical advice. Let's clear up a few of the most common misunderstandings. 1. Prostate cancer is always a death sentence. This is perhaps the most damaging myth. Yes, prostate cancer can be serious, but it's not automatically fatal. In fact, most men diagnosed today, especially if it's caught early, live long, healthy lives. Medical advances in screening, imaging, and treatment mean that prostate cancer is often curable or at least controllable for decades. The key is early detection. A man who has his PSA checked regularly and sees his doctor about urinary changes can often catch the disease when it's still confined to the gland. At that stage, treatments like surgery or radiation can eliminate it. Even when the cancer is more advanced, newer therapies, targeted drugs, hormone treatments, immunotherapy can manage the disease for years. So the truth is, prostate cancer is not an automatic death sentence. It's a disease that requires attention and action, but also one where hope and successful outcomes are very real. 2. Only old men get prostate problems. It's true that risk rises with age, but the idea that only men in their 70s or 80s need to worry is misleading. I've diagnosed significant prostate issues in men as young as their 40s and early 50s. Enlargement of the prostate, BPH, inflammation, prostatitis, and even cancer can appear earlier than expected, especially in men with risk factors like family history, obesity, or chronic inflammation. One of my patients, a 47-year-old engineer, came in only because his wife insisted after noticing his frequent nighttime trips to the bathroom. He turned out to have early-stage prostate cancer, and because it was caught early, his outcome was excellent. The lesson: prostate health is not just an old man's problem. Middle-aged men should also pay attention, especially if symptoms arise. 3. Surgery is the only solution. Another common misunderstanding is that once prostate problems appear, surgery is inevitable. In reality, treatment is highly personalized. For men with mild symptoms, active surveillance is often the best choice, closely monitoring the prostate with regular checkups, but avoiding immediate intervention. Medications can shrink the prostate or relax the muscles around the bladder, improving urination without invasive steps. Minimally invasive procedures such as laser therapy, microwaves, or steam ablation are also options and often have fewer side effects than traditional surgery. And when surgery is necessary, modern techniques like robotic-assisted prostatectomy offer more precision, faster recovery, and better preservation of sexual and urinary function compared to older methods. The bottom line: misinformation can create unnecessary fear and lead men to delay care, or to choose treatments that aren't right for them. The truth is far more encouraging. Prostate cancer can often be cured. Men in their 40s and 50s are not immune, and surgery is just one of many tools doctors can use. Knowledge replaces fear, and when men understand their real options, they can take proactive steps that protect not just their prostate, but their entire quality of life. Real-life cases from the clinic. Stories often speak louder than statistics. Over the years, I've treated thousands of men, and certain cases stay with me because they show what happens when prostate health is ignored and what happens when it's cared for. Let me share 2 examples that capture both sides of the spectrum. Case 1: the cost of delay. Mr. H was a 68-year-old retired construction worker. For years, he brushed off his symptoms, getting up 4 or 5 times a night, weak urine stream, sometimes even pain. His wife kept telling him, "You should see a doctor," but he would laugh it off, saying, "It's just old age. All men my age have this." By the time he finally came to my office, his prostate cancer had already spread outside the gland. Instead of a simple curative surgery or targeted therapy, we had to discuss long-term hormone treatment and radiation to control the disease. His prognosis was still hopeful, but the difference was clear. If he had come 5 years earlier, his journey could have been much easier. Mr. H's story is a painful reminder that ignoring minor urinary symptoms can allow a silent disease to become life-threatening. Case 2: the power of small changes. In contrast, let me tell you about Mr. R, a 61-year-old school teacher. He came in early, complaining only of mild nighttime urination, just twice per night. His tests showed an enlarged prostate but no cancer. Instead of rushing into medication, we talked about lifestyle. He committed to 3 small changes: drinking most of his fluids before 6 p.m., taking a 15-minute walk after dinner, and swapping his daily fast food burger for a plate of vegetables and grilled chicken. Within 6 months, his nighttime awakenings dropped to once per night. After a year, he sometimes slept straight through. His blood pressure improved, he lost 10 pounds, and he told me, "Doctor, I feel 10 years younger." What's remarkable is that these improvements came without any pills or surgery, just consistent, manageable habits, the lesson from both stories. One man ignored his body's signals and paid the price with more advanced disease. The other listened early, took small steps, and reaped big rewards. These cases highlight the central truth about prostate health. You can't control your age, but you can control your choices. Regular checkups, listening to warning signs, and making lifestyle adjustments can dramatically change the outcome. In medicine, we often say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Nowhere is that more true than with the prostate. Men who act early often enjoy decades of good health. Those who delay may find themselves fighting harder battles than necessary. If this video gave you a clearer picture of how small daily choices shape your prostate health, don't keep it to yourself. Click like to support the channel, hit subscribe so you never miss the next insight, and share your own thoughts or questions in the comments below. Your story might help another man take action before it's too late. Here on Men's Vitality After 60, we're building a community where wisdom, prevention, and vitality go hand in hand.